It's bigger, it's more expensive, it's the iPhone XS Max. You've heard this proposition before. 4 years ago, when Apple debuted the iPhone 6 Plus, there was a larger phone with a few more features and a higher price. That also happened with the 6S Plus, and the 7 Plus, and the 8 Plus. When the iPhone X came out last year, now there's a 6.5-inch iPhone XS Max. Now the difference between the XS and the XS Max is nothing in terms of features, but there's a difference in terms of display. Here you're getting 6.5 inches, and it's basically the same size physically as the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, does that make a difference? Am I living a tablet life? What does it feel like to have a phone that's larger again, and also more expensive? This thing is $1099 going up to $1449. Well, I've been living with it, and here's what it's like to be back in the big phone life. The iPhone XS Max is bigger, but it doesn't have anything new in terms of features. In fact, it has the same processor and the same cameras as the iPhone XS. So what you're looking at is really just about screen size. It's kind of like the iPad Pro models. Between the 10.5-inch and the 12.9-inch, you're going from a 5.8-inch iPhone to a 6.5-inch iPhone. And it's all about the screen and the extra pixels. And battery life. This one's supposed to get an hour more battery life. That's not a huge amount, but it's something. The XS Max is expensive, starting at $1099, going up to $1449. After tax, you'll be well into nice laptop range. It's also harder to one-hand hold, and I've come to love the smaller 10's perfect size to screen balance. So why would you need a bigger screen on the Max? I mean, there was always the Plus before. Now the iPhone X basically has a screen size that's around the size of what the Plus used to be, so it already feels pretty large. The Max is better, I think, for watching movies, which always feel a little too letterboxed on the 10. Also for playing games, maybe if you want something like a Kindle, something you can web browse and use like a tablet. You're paying $100 for the upgrade to the larger screen, which isn't terrible, but it also changes the size of the phone, obviously. And it's not bad, it's manageable, but I think that the 10 really covers a lot more bases in a smaller form. The biggest reason to go Max might be the fact that it supports Splitview Apps. Now, apps that do that vary. Not all of them take advantage of this, but when it happens, it's really nice and it feels a little more like an iPad. And there are some websites that already are taking advantage of it, like the New York Times, where when you turn into landscape mode, the Max will allow you to see something that looks a lot more like a computer web browser experience versus a mobile. I always like a lot of battery life in a phone, and I haven't found a point where it's exceeded my expectations. The XS Max is supposed to last an hour longer than the XS, and about an hour and a half longer than last year's 10. An hour and a half is something, but it's not something that's going to be leaps and bounds beyond anything else. And the XR, which is coming out in October, might even have better battery life, according to Apple's claims. So far, using the iPhone XS Max heavily over the course of a day, it's lasted, but I've definitely found a need to recharge by midday, which is something that I always find using iPhones, but I'm a pretty heavy user. Or do you want to wait for the XR? In October, Apple is coming out with the iPhone XR, which is going to be a pretty large 6.1-inch phone that's going to cost less than the iPhone X and the XS Max. Now, it's going to have a display that's a little lower resolution, but still, if you want something that feels bigger and you want to be able to watch movies and read books on it, maybe that's your best bet. We haven't reviewed that one yet, so stay tuned. But if you really want to buy the biggest, best iPhone, no matter what the price, go ahead and get the XS Max. But don't say I didn't tell you to wait. Blue steel, give me blue steel. Give me red steel. Old titanium. Old steel. Blue iron.